All right. Welcome back, Chelsea fans, to another episode of the London is Blue podcast. Of course, I'm your host, Nick, joined by Matt Law for a Matt Law special Germany edition. I don't know. Matt, how's it going over in Germany for the Euros?
Yeah, good. I am in Blankenheim at the moment, which is where England are based. It's kind of in the middle of nowhere. The best way to describe it is about 90 minutes or so from Leipzig. It's kind of central to east side Germany. Very nice. And I'm in the media centre, which is kind of a bit like a castle. So yeah, all good. I've been out here already for a week and a day so far.
And what are the impressions so far from the tournament? We'll go through some from the matches later, but how's the tournament so far?
It's good. It's nice to be in a country where we're in like a football country, because obviously we had a Euros that was in a pandemic, so that didn't feel much like a Euros in a way. And then we were over in Qatar for the World Cup, which just felt a bit weird. So this is a football place. It's nice. It's a good tournament feel about it. The cities are absolutely buzzing. Yeah, it's good. It's good. And the sun's come out today. It hasn't been very nice weather, but the sun's come out today, so that's helped.
Well, as you guys know, a quick call to action. We know that the community has been amazing to us. We continue to have a great summer of pods ahead, and you can join the party. Right, 5-star reviews, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. Subscribe on YouTube. Make sure that you hit the bell icon and get notified for all of our new videos, including a video about Chelsea's schedule for next season in the Premier League. And then if you're looking to join a great community, Discord is that community for you. So sign up via Patreon or sign up via Discord for that. Lots going on, Matt. We're going to just dive right into silly season
Yep.
because it's here and it's, we've been prepared for this for a while. What's going on here? I mean, we have a lot of talk for striker, winger, center back, left back, goalkeeper. Maybe we start with striker. We've heard rumors for between our two clubs for Villa and
Yes.
Chelsea for John Duran. What are your thoughts on that?
So Chelsea have approached Villa on Duran. They've been given permission to speak to him. It hasn't progressed an awful lot from there. That was last week, as I reported, but it hasn't progressed an awful lot from there. I think there's a lot of talking to be done. I think there's a lot of background checks to be done on Duran. He's a colourful character, so they'll want to be sure that if they do go ahead with it, he's not going to cause them a problem. And they've still got irons in the fire. I still think they're looking at Dominic Solanke, who has a clause. I don't think they've, or not to my knowledge, that they've actually had permission to speak to him or followed that through yet. But there's definitely an interest there. There's a couple of others. There's a striker in Spain that I know that they've had talks over. I'm afraid I can't name him. He's not a household name, let's put it that way. So don't start thinking the big strikers in Spain. But there's a striker in Spain they've looked at who's a similar profile to John Duran, let's say.
Record scratch for myself because as I talked to Matt early on Tuesday, he was not yet able to publish the mystery target that we talked about in the striker section. So that's why we're pausing it here, because later in the day, he did publish that Chelsea were chasing Atletico Madrid striker Samu Omarodian. Hopefully I'm saying that correctly. A really big, physical, imposing, talented striker who is only 20 years old. Atletico apparently rejected a 25 million pound bid that would have risen to 30 million pounds with add-ons, holding out for either more money or just to keep the player. They have put out in the press that they've already turned down a 35 million pound offer. And so Chelsea are thought to be negotiating with Samu Omarodian and John Duran, as well as potentially even Dom Solanke coming back to the club and others. So just wanted to cut that in here. Sam, CFC Central, and I will be talking about Duran and Omarodian on Friday's pod, but I thought it would be silly to not do a little quick cut in here since the news broke simply right after we podcasted. And unfortunately, that happens sometimes, but we have the information, we have the power, and we're cutting it back in.
So there's definitely work going on there, and I'm pretty confident they will sign a striker. At the moment, I would say, if you had to push me, that Duran is the furthest along, but I've been stressed that a deal is still some way off and that there are other people they are talking to and considering.
I've also seen reports over the last couple of days of Garasi, who I think just came off of a really good season in Germany. Is there anything on that front that you're hearing?
To be honest, no. I'd heard more that the Garassi, I think Borussia Dortmund are progressing with something on Garassi. It's not to say Chelsea aren't, it's just not one that's hit my radar. What I can tell you about striker is they're not looking particularly at sort of 6 yard box strikers. I'm not saying Garassi is that, by the way. I'm just giving you some insight into what they're after. Um, they're not looking at the sort of 6 yard box finisher type of striker. They want someone who can drop deep, who can run in behind, who can link the play. That's the type of striker they're after. They feel that the striker needs to be quite fluid to play in Maresca's system. Um, Duran, having watched him at Villa, definitely does fit into that. I've watched a few videos of the guy I know in Spain who they've looked at, and he fits into that. And Solanke would fit into that as well. So that's the profile they're looking at. So if they get linked in the next days with sort of pure 6 yard box strikers, I'd be tempted to ignore it just because that's not the profile I've been told they're after. Garassi, they might be. It's not one that's hit my radar. And like I say, I've heard that Borussia Dortmund are sort of progressing down that route.
You also wrote recently that Tammy Abraham could be on his way
Yep,
back to England. What's
yep.
going on with Tammy?
So Tammy, I think, has got 2 years left on his Roma deal. Um, he definitely is the subject of some interest. I think Roma have got it's financial fair play rather than PSR problems over there. They've got financial fair play issues. Tammy, for them, is quite a high earner. They probably know that this is the last summer they can get what you might call significant money, even though in English terms it might be not that much, about 20 million. So there's definitely a deal to be done on Tammy. I think he'll be one that clubs make moves on right. We've got this sort of unofficial deadline coming up, haven't we? We've got June the 30th coming up, which is the accounting deadline. And we saw last season that that became an unofficial transfer deadline. That's going to happen again. Expect next week to get really busy around the Premier League. Players are going to have to move by June the 30th at various different clubs. So it will start to get busy around then. And I'm told that Tammy is likely to start to come into people's thinking more seriously past then. I haven't heard Chelsea, by the way. My club Villa, if Durand were to go, are aware of him. West Ham are aware of him. Even Tottenham, who I think tried to sign him a couple of years ago. So, yeah, Tammy could well be on his way back to Premier League. And at 20 million for a certain profile of club, he's had his injury problems, which so there's a risk element there, but it could be a really good deal for somebody.
So striker looking more for like a link up striker option due to the system. Winger is another interesting area for us, right? Because
Yeah.
Chelsea have some options at winger, but maybe not the perfect option that they would like. There's been a ton of smoke around Michael Olise again this summer, but perhaps a little bit more of a formal approach this year than last year. What are you hearing on the Michael Olise front? Because I think this is the one that a lot of Chelsea fans are really excited for.
Yeah, I think at the moment I'd have Chelsea's favourites themselves. Uh, Bayern Munich and Newcastle have all been given permission to speak to him. They all went through the front door last week. I don't think any of them have agreed a deal with Palace yet, but Palace seem to be being quite grown up about it and allowed them to start talks with him and his representatives. There's a real confusion over him over this clause. If you speak to people at the Palace end, you get told quite a lot about a supposed buyout clause, maybe as much as 60 million. And it has been mentioned that it might only be applicable to Champions League clubs. We speak to people at the Chelsea and they're very definite that it's not applicable to only Champions League clubs and that there might not even be an actual clause. Very hard.
How how are we back here again? I thought
I
the whole
know,
point of him signing the new deal last year was to do the out clause. Like what is
I
going
know.
on?
So I'm very, very wary of clause talk, but there seems to be a deal that can be done for him. And like I say, those three clubs have got permission to speak to him. He is definitely Chelsea's number one target. They want him to compete with Noni Madueke on that right side. Um, and like I say, at the moment it's early days, but I think they're pretty confident.
So in that respect, are you looking for Cole Palmer to play a more central role
Yes,
this year?
yeah. I think Cole Palmer's going to play more centrally. I don't know at the moment, obviously, whether Enzo is going to go 4-3-3 or 4-2-3-1, but it seems like Cole is being earmarked for a more central role, whether it be in a three-man midfield or whether it be as that sort of three forwards behind a striker. They think that Sterling and Mudryk should be the left side. They hope that Olise and Madueke will be the right side, and they hope that Nkunku and Palmer can occupy roles in a more central attacking area behind the main striker. They are planning a big squad though, because I think obviously with the Conference League, and they're going to take the Club World Cup really seriously. I think they're looking at planning a squad that can cope with between like 75 and 80 matches next season.
Whoa.
Yeah,
Holy hell. That is crazy.
because if you, they have to plan for the fact that they expect to go far in competitions, and that's the figures that have been told to me, that they feel they need a squad that can potentially cope with 75 to 80 games, which is utter madness when you think of the welfare players. It's not Chelsea's fault. So they do want a big squad.
Any other winger targets that you're hearing right now that could be of interest to Chelsea fans?
Short answer, no.
So
my,
it's
Michael Olise seems to be target number 1, 2, and 3 for a winger place at the moment. I just think they're pursuing very hard down that line. It's different from the striker situation. And they'll only start considering others if that falls to pieces. They'll obviously have stuff internally. Don't get me wrong; they always have stuff internally, but certainly nothing that's not that they're working on in tandem with. No.
okay, interesting. So striker is a little bit different, and maybe looking at players who can do sort of a different role than maybe what we have today. Winger is very set in stone as to what they're looking for. Another interesting area due to the signing of Tosin Adarabioyo is center back, right? Because now Chelsea have one, two, three, four, five, six center backs on the
Yeah,
books,
yeah, I think that's
uh,
right.
or five. It might be five.
Hassan, Dasassi, Fofana, Badiashile, Trev.
Chalaba
I feel like I'm
and
missing one.
Colwell. Yeah,
Colville, of course. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
So six. There have been rumors that Chelsea have been looking at Calafiori as a part of this as well. Is there another center back in the plans for this summer? It seems like a log jam there.
Yeah, look, I mean, I'm pretty certain that Trevor will go. Um, I think then if they do a centre back, it would signal to me that Colville might play as an inverted left back more. But I'm being told that they want to sign a left back. Matson will go. I think, to be honest with you, after the winger and the striker, it's more about the exits for a while. I'm told a lot of players will go. Cassaday might go. Dacho Fofana will go, whether it be on loan or permanent. Um, I think there's accept bids for Cucurella. Whether they get any, I don't know. Mapson will go. He's part of the whole Duran thing with Villa. Um, and I do think Trevor will go. I know that will upset a lot of people. So I think only after we get a better breakdown of who's actually going and what they can do deals for, will it become a little bit clearer where their priorities lie. I was told that the three positions they're really working on is striker, winger, and left back. Um, I think that centre back only comes into that if deals out happen and the balance of the squad looks like it can take another centre back. I'm also told, by the way, as well, that they will do more deals for 25-26. So a bit like Esteval, a bit like Kendry. I do think we'll see more deals aimed at 25-26 as well. So whether they get a young centre back aimed at 25-26, I don't know. But that's what I've been told to watch out for. So yeah, but the sales are going to be key to all this. They keep insisting they do not need to sell players for PSR, but they want to sell players so that their backs are not put up against the wall in a PSR situation. And I do think that they also think that this is a good summer in terms of the profile of their players, because Chalabar had a strong end to the season, Matson had a strong loan, Gallagher's obviously in a very strong place. I think they realise that deal-wise, some of their players are in a good position. Um, Interestingly, just going back to Duran, Villa have definitely told Chelsea that they can only sign a Chelsea player if Duran goes to Chelsea, and that basically, if Duran doesn't go to Chelsea, that Villa will walk away from their interest in Matson. Gallagher now that might be game playing, that might be positioning to try and force a deal over
Sure.
the line.
Yeah.
So you might want to take that with a pinch of salt. But a lot of things are intertwined, particularly with Villa and Chelsea, because Villa are very keen to sign Matson, would love to sign Gallagher, but are telling Chelsea we can only do that if Duran goes to Chelsea. I don't think it would be the same swap deals. I think it would all be separate deals for accounting purposes.
All right. Well, we're going to take our first ad break, come back and talk about the left back and other transfers and lots more fun stuff, even the Euros. So thanks to the sponsors, and we'll be right back. All right, Matt, we were talking about left back before we took our break. Are you hearing any names of targets for left back? Because it seemed pretty quiet there so far this
Yeah,
summer.
I've got to be honest, I'm not, and I've been quite preoccupied by Duran and Olise and the Euros, so I haven't done a lot of chasing on it. I'll be quite honest with you. I just know positionally, so no, I can't give you names. What we do know is Maresca likes to invert his fullbacks. Uh, Certainly, Reese looks like he would fit into that very well. I don't really see how Chilwell would fit into an inverted left back role. He might surprise me. He might be able to do it very well. Um, so the profile of the left back, I would imagine, would be someone who can invert and maybe move into midfield as well. I mean, Colwill does look like a player who could do that to me, but I'm told they actually do want to sign a left back from outside.
It looks like that would put Kukurea in a pretty strong spot to start at the beginning of the season.
Maybe, although they'd definitely listen to offers for him, I think, as well. So, yeah, again, it'll slightly depend on who's willing to come forward with whatever. But he did prove himself that he can play that role, and he may well be in a strong position because of that. Yeah, and remember, City did want Cucurella. City tried to sign Cucurella before Chelsea, and if my memory is not letting me down, Maresca would have been at Chelsea then. Sorry, at City then. Um, I think he would have been Pep's assistant during that summer when they wanted Cucurella. So might be 2 + 2 = 5, but that might come into thinking.
What are you hearing about goalkeeper? Because this is an area where Chelsea are in an interesting spot. They just signed a couple goalkeepers last year, but maybe not the exact sort of profile that would fit Maresca's very active short passing game,
Yeah,
which is going to be fascinating to watch and not at all mind numbing as a Chelsea fan. What are your thoughts on goalkeeper? Do they go out and get one? Do they have to sell one? Like the goalkeepers that we have currently, what's your thought?
I think they will look at Sanchez first. I think they will spend pre-season looking at Sanchez and how he copes with the Maresca style. Because, look, my opinion is that Sanchez worries me with his feet. Like every time I see him with his feet, he worries me with his feet. The club's opinion seems to be that actually one of his strengths is playing out from the back, and it should be a strength of his. Ben Roberts
Mhm.
obviously knows him well, so he should know. So I very much expect them to look at Sanchez before they do anything. And I think he will play heavily in pre-season to see what he's like coping with that. But I don't expect them to go out and sign a experienced, established goalkeeper if they do sign one. I think they'll sign a developmental goalkeeper if they sign one, and really try and make it work with Sanchez. And they're very impressed with Petrovic, by the way. They thought Petrovic had a much better season than they were expecting last season, so they're not going to totally block his path either. So my guess is that they don't sign a goalkeeper, that they see how Sanchez does in pre-season, and only if it's a disaster with Sanchez in pre-season do they then move. But I don't. Some of the names I've seen Oblak, I've seen someone else. I can't. Maignan. Then look, my information is they're not going to sign that profile of goalkeeper this summer.
Interesting. Okay, so your thought at this point in the summer is that Sanchez almost comes in as the incumbent, even though he hadn't really played at the past November last season.
Yes, I think he'll start pre-season as what you might term the number one, although I suspect Maresca will say that's not a number one, and then they'll take a view, on depending on how pre-season goes with him.
So that'd be kind of like a late window sort of
Yeah,
potential move, if at all.
and I think they'd only do it if they feel forced to do it. I think they rate their goalkeepers. Ben Roberts picked both of those goalkeepers, so they want to make it work.
All right. Any other transfer rumors that you're hearing incoming right now that we should be paying attention to?
No, no. Like I said, um, I think we'll see more 25, 26 deals. I think there'll be more kids who don't join immediately who come into that season. But no, I'm not hearing any of the rumours in terms of incomings. I think we've been through all of that, to be quite honest with you.
You did mention quite a few of the transfers out earlier, and a lot of these do kind of are dependent on how Chelsea want to make moves this summer, right? You've talked about Motson. He has a clear release clause.
Yeah.
It appears that Dortmund so far are not willing to
They
meet that
won't.
release
Look,
clause.
I'm quite confident they won't do that release clause. I don't think they've ever paid that money for anyone but a striker. Um, there's no precedent there. I'm told they've made it very clear to Chelsea that they just will not pay that amount of money. I think they'd be willing to pay around 25 million tops. Um, I think they've tried to talk about whether Chelsea would like to take any of their players as part of a deal. That might help it at some point, but at the moment, uh, Dortmund are kind of nowhere near it. Villa are very strong. Villa have made it clear that if they can get the money in, that they need to get the money in for the accounting, that they would pretty much meet the clause. They value him that highly. I think that they've made inroads into the player with Chelsea's position to make sure he would be up for it. So I think Villa are quite far down the line in some respects, but it's very dependent on them bringing money in. And that's where the market's at. It's not a fluid market because basically everybody wants to sell at the same time as buying. Nobody wants to just buy and then be stuck with players and trying to sell. Everybody wants it to be sales connected to signings. We're even hearing that Man City might not even sign anyone this summer. It's a different market because of the PSR. So the sales are going to be key to everything, but it's not as easy as saying, "Oh, Villa want Matson, they can get Matson." It's so dependent on other things, and I'm told there's other European interest in Matson, but I don't know the clubs. So yeah, Matson. I think Matson will go, but it's kind of got hurdles to clear. Let's put it that way.
Gallagher's in a really interesting position because he's winding down his deal, and this is a guy who had a great season last season. He's obviously playing for England this summer at the Euros. Um, Rumors that he might sign an extension or be offered an extension, probably in service of in the club's view, moving him on. What are your thoughts on Gallagher right now this summer?
So Chelsea have always it's always been the case that they have never ruled out offering him a new deal, and I think I've written before that I would expect at some point for them to offer him a new deal, but whether that deal is a deal that is realistic to him signing it is another question.
Hmm.
Um, nothing's. I can't see a world in which anything happens while the Euros is on. Connor, we spoke to Connor last week. I was in the press conference. He was so clear that he just wants to focus on this Euros. I mean, Trent started that first England game, but Connor came on. And if Southgate decides to change at any stage, Connor's the next guy in. Connor's playing, and we could easily be in a knockout phase with Connor playing for England, which is huge for him. He's not going to distract himself. He made that really clear. So I don't expect any contract or move news while the Euros is going on. I think that's going to have to be something that waits till the Euro, till his Euros is over. Obviously, clubs can try and get stuff agreed with Chelsea in between that time so that things can move very quickly. But as I say, I've always been of the opinion that Chelsea will offer Connor something and not just let him walk away. But as I say, how realistic that offer is in terms of actually him staying, I couldn't guess at the moment.
Well, he doesn't have to sign it either, right? He could just
No,
wind
and
down his
him
contract.
also him not signing it doesn't. I'd be really reticent to try and to be seen to be putting out a message that Connor could run down his contract like he's going to run it down because he can walk away for free. I don't see it like that. There's no bad feeling between him and the club at the moment, but it's like anyone. He doesn't have to do anything, and it doesn't mean he's running down his contract. He's thinking of moving for free. He just doesn't have to do anything. He doesn't have to bang on the manager's door. He just has to get on with his football, and he knows that at some stage, whether it be from Chelsea getting the contract or from moving, that obviously his wages will go up a lot. usually these players, whether they stay or go, get compensated for the fact that they've gone through a final year whereby they've stayed at a level that might not represent how good they are. So he's not
Right.
going to lose money. I don't think, like I said, I don't think it's a situation of I'll run it down and just leave for free. He just doesn't have to do anything. So, but Chelsea will want him to. Chelsea's nightmare scenario is Connor entering like the last 6 months of that deal come January. He can then talk to foreign clubs, and then and then we're looking at a dangerous situation for Chelsea in terms of losing a lot of money on him. So Chelsea, that's their worst case scenario for Chelsea.
You mentioned Trev. You expect Trev to leave this summer as the logjam piles up in center back. Um, what are your thoughts on the fee? Because it's weird to me that you see players much less talented than Trev go for reported higher fees than what Trev is being touted for. So I'm very curious about this, not only because he's my favorite center back at the club, but because the fee just doesn't seem to match the talent.
I agree with that. I totally agree with that. I think he would be an incredible signing for lots of clubs. And last season, clubs were told it was 25 million. Nobody wanted to pay it, which I find astonishing. And I'm told that the expectation is that it will be a similar valuation this summer. I suppose he missed a lot of last season. Can you massively rocket the value up on the basis of say 10 games at the end of the season? But I'm with you. At the end of every season, I come to the conclusion that Trevor Chalobah is the best defender at the club, and Trevor Chalobah should be in the England squad. And yet we seem to go in this revolving circle where we finish the season thinking that, and then we start the season with Trevor Chalobah not in the squad even. Weird situation. He always fights his way back in. Wonderful attitude, wonderful player. He's versatile. He's got Champions League experience. He's got top Premier League experience. I think every club, I include Manchester United in this, every club, maybe not Man City, possibly even Liverpool. I think every club in the Premier League should be looking at him. I really do. I rate him that highly, and the value that I think he's at, I just think he would be an absolute steal for someone.
Yeah, it's mind boggling. I would just rather keep him than sell him for 25. That feels like a
I
discount
agree.
deal. I have
I agree. I
yeah.
agree. I agree.
Um, Cassaday's an interesting one.
Yeah.
More reports about him potentially leaving.
Yeah.
What are your read on? Is this a
Right.
fit or what?
No, he's not up for sale. He's not up for sale. But there's interest in him. There's interest from Europe in Cassaday. There's quite a lot of. I can't tell it. It's one of those stories that I can't write, sadly, which I wish I could. Um, there's a big foreign club interested in Cassaday, a big foreign club, and it would be certainly a very good move for him. And were they to come in to Chelsea, I certainly think Chelsea would sell him because it would be a good deal for them. He's obviously played for Maresca, although he sat on the bench a lot at Leicester with Maresca. But there's going to be a logjam in that midfield as well for Chelsea. Lavia is going to be back. Leslie's there. You've obviously got Caicedo and Fernandez. You've
Santos.
potentially got Santos being part of the squad. He's certainly going to be part of the pre-season squad. Massive logjam, and they do need to bring some money in, and they need to be clever. And if they get this bid from the club that I know are interested from, they'll sell him. But there's other interest too. But he's not. It's different from being for sale. He's not for sale, but he is attracting interest, and they will definitely accept bids for him.
Broya. This is one that I don't think there was a ton of expectation around while the Euros are going on. But
Yeah.
what are your thoughts on Armando Broya and what his future might hold at this point?
So the one I'm hearing on Broya is that Everton are planning for the fact that they may well have to sell Calvert-Lewin this summer. Calvert-Lewin's come into the last year of his deal, and he's got some interest. If they sell Calvert-Lewin, I would expect Everton to make a move for Broya. Also, I think Broya's got some Italian interest, which he's had plenty in the past. I think AC Milan. I think that's out there. And Broya, again, is definitely on the list of players that Chelsea are thinking of selling, particularly when you consider they're going to bring a striker in. So it only makes sense. Sadly, his loan at the second half of last season of Fulham was pretty much a disaster.
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
makes valuation hard on him because I understand why Chelsea value him so highly because we saw at Southampton and we've seen at Chelsea he could be a really good Premier League striker. He could. Um, and he could be a fantastic signing for someone. And it will be dangerous if he moves for, say, 20 million because he could prove to be an incredible signing for someone. But how do you demand 30 to 40 million for a player who's had the second half of the season he had with Fulham? It's a difficult valuation, but yeah, I watch Calvert Lewin because if Calvert Lewin leaves Chelsea and Broja still at if Calvert Lewin leaves Everton and Broja still at Chelsea, uh, then I think Everton will have a go for him
And you expect that for Fofana to
to
be
go.
sold as well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
loan or sale. Yeah, for sure. He could be. He could. Well, Chelsea are also open, like lots of clubs are in all these deals, to not necessarily offering player swaps, but offering sort of friendly deals if they can get deals over the line. And Datro Fofana could go as one of those part of a deal as well. So yeah, but I think Datro Fofana one way or the other will leave Chelsea this summer.
Do you see Madueke leaving this summer? I mean, like you talk about logjam at the wings. If you bring in someone like Olise, do you see him staying with Chelsea, or do you see him potentially leaving?
I only see him leaving if he asks to leave. I,
Okay.
Chelsea don't have a plan to sell him. They don't want to entertain offers for him. Like I said, they
Hmm.
want a big squad for a 75 to 80 game season. They want two top players in each position generally. And I know that they've earmarked the right side as hopefully for them being Elise and Madueke. The only situation I see Madueke coming up is if he gets annoyed if Elise comes in and has to leave. But I don't see why he'd do that. Top players back themselves. He will think I can prove myself, and they are going to have to play an awful lot of games next season, and there's going to be an awful lot of opportunities, and they're going to have to rotate. So,
Yeah.
no, I don't think Madueke will leave, and I think it'd be silly if he got upset because even if they signed Elise, I still think he'd play 30 odd games next season.
And then the last one is Chilwell. This is one that I think just system fit wise could be tough for him next season. Any rumors that he might leave this summer?
I don't think they could. I don't think he could leave. He's on big wages. He's on well over 100 grand a week. He's also in the sort of leadership group at Chelsea. I don't quite know where his future lies in terms of playing, but I, I don't see how they could sell him. To be quite, I don't think there's a market for them to sell him into. So I don't see him going long and short of it.
Any other exits that we should be thinking about this summer?
Well, do you know what with Chelsea? I always forget someone. I always come off these with you, or I always write an article, and I think, shit, how did I forget so and so? Because there's so many players. We've done Dacho Fofana, we've done Casade, we've done Broja, we've done Matson, we've done Chalabar. We know that Santos is likely to stay in the squad for pre-season. Carney Chukwuemeka is interesting.
Hmm.
I don't know what's going to happen with Carney, and I might come off this pod, and when it goes out, I get a text message or something saying, "Why did you even talk about Carney? He's definitely going to be in the squad or whatever." But I was thinking about Carney the other day. Where does Carney fit into all this? Well, there's a jam. There's a jam in the middle of the park. There's a jam on both the wings. Sterling's not going anywhere, as far as I know. Mudryk isn't going anywhere because Carney can play in off the left. What's Carney's future? Maybe the best thing they can do is loan out Carney. They should.
Interesting.
I can't believe for a minute they would consider selling him because they really do believe in his talent and he's still young. But given how much football he's missed through injury, and given he's now fit, maybe they'd loan him out. But I come back to the fact 80 game season, Carney can play central midfield, he can play number 10, he can play left, he can probably play right as far as I know. Maybe he's got to
I
be in that squad.
I thought of him as like a advanced 8 in the system and got pretty excited about that prospect because I think he's shown the central sort of capabilities in very few appearances, but the interchange is just dynamic.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Maybe that's the option. But all right, let's dive into a little bit of Euro talk when we're back from the break, and a couple of fun questions for you, Matt, before you head on off to the presser. So thanks to the sponsors, and we will of course be right back. All right, Matt, we're going to skip a few conversation topics in favor of the Euros. This
Okay.
is, we heard that you're in some sort of castle, which sounds just terrible for you. I will actually be joining the Euros party in about a week and a half for
Okay.
the France and Poland game in Dortmund. So I'm very excited
Okay.
about that.
Excellent. Yeah.
Yeah, just going for fun. So wanted to talk about the Euro so far. It's been a fascinating tournament. There's a lot going on, obviously, with the results. And so just quick rundown of what's happened. Thought I'd lead off with your England, a very vanilla performance that surely inspired the nation. Matt, you
Look
feeling
at
it? You feeling the love?
look. My view is in a tournament, just get off to a winning start. We saw it with
Right.
France last night. We've seen it before. Very rarely does the team who starts out the blocks with a 5-0 or a 4-1 or incredible victory, very rarely do they end up winning the tournament if you look back through history. You need that win. You just need that win for a bit of momentum. England's squad is a lot of players who finished the season with injuries, didn't play a lot at the end of the season. The Gareth Southgate's first team haven't played together very much recently because of all that. So I wasn't. I probably got a different viewpoint to a lot of England fans who would definitely agree it was a vanilla performance and didn't inspire confidence. And you're right. If we play like that through the tournament, we're not getting very far. You know, we for sure got to improve that second half. That's got to improve. But I think it will. And I just think you get your win, you get your momentum, you get your fitness, and you go from there. So I'm hoping to see something better against Denmark on Thursday. It's weird being at the Euros. You lose all track of days, by the way. It's a bit like Christmas or something. But yeah, that's my take on it. And the first 20 minutes, by the way, I thought they started excellently. I was like, crikey, this looks good. And then second half was woeful. But yeah, I think we'll improve. And England in their history have only ever won one of their other opening games to Euros. So, we
Is that
don't have.
right?
Yep. And that was the last
Wow.
Euros. We've never won an opening game before the last Euros. We've never won the Euros, obviously. Our Euros pedigree is pretty shit, to be honest with you. So, you know, let's take our wins when they come.
Other results to this point, and of course, we are recording this on Tuesday before the start of the Turkey and Georgia game. But so if you're listening to this and the results happened, just that's a programming note for you. France back to relying on N'Golo Kante to bail them out of some serious situations. Italy and the Netherlands win, but maybe with some nerves unexpectedly. Germany, Spain, Switzerland, very dominant in their opening performances. Slovakia and Romania,
Yeah,
massive
yeah,
surprises
yeah,
out of
yeah.
nowhere. And I would call this, to this point in the tournament, the shit performances. Croatia, Ukraine, Belgium, Scotland, all really poor, with some other kind of mixed results in there. Obviously, look for you, Matt, what has impressed you so far about these Euros? I mean, obviously, the thing we talked about at the start of the show was it looks like a proper fan environment. Like the Netherlands bringing the Orange Army
Yeah,
into it just
yeah.
made my kind of the hairs on my back of my
Well,
neck stand up.
I didn't
Like,
realise. Yeah, I didn't realise you were coming over. You're going to experience it in Dortmund. It's a brilliant tournament to be at. It's the first really good football tournament, international tournament for a long time, and it's a brilliant tournament. You'll love it. It's a party. You'll see the colours, the sights, the beer, everything. So that on the football side, I think the biggest thing that struck me so far, the young players. There's some
mm,
amazing young players. You look at the German team with Musiala and Wirtz, fantastic young players. You look at the Spain lad, Yamal, is it Lamine? Yamal,
Lamine
yeah,
Yamal, yeah,
yeah. 16 years old and he starts a Euros game, gets an assist, probably should have scored a goal. Obviously, England have got a lot of kids. There's a lot of really good young players who look like they're going to play with absolutely no fear whatsoever and just go and have the time of their lives. And I find that really exciting. I think that will be a real feature of the tournament. I think there will be a lot of goals. I think the Euros so far is mirroring the Premier League and that defence is not being great, quite frankly. But that's all the
no,
more entertainment for the rest of us. Nobody seems to want to defend anymore. Everybody just wants to seem to outscore each other. It's all about entertainment, and that's that's good for us. Let's face it, that is good for us. So I think it will be a very entertaining Euros. And yeah, I also I know. Look, France are the favourites clearly, but I don't think they're. I just don't see an outstanding favourite who I would definitely put my 50. I mean, I don't bet, but if I was to put 50 quid on or something, I just don't see it. So I do think that there's an openness to it. We haven't seen Portugal yet. I'd like to see Portugal because Portugal to me just looks strong, and Portugal could be the ones who can defend. So
Yeah, the remaining matches in the first round are Turkey and Georgia and Portugal and Czech Republic, obviously, before
yeah,
we get back
yeah.
into.
So I would like to see Portugal because maybe they'll change my mind slightly, but. Yeah, it's that. I think the football is going to be really good. The young players and the entertainment is going to be such a feature of this tournament.
Who has the best performance so far? Obviously, we can't predict the future today, but who has the best performance for you?
Do you know what? This is going to sound weird. It's not the best performance because it's just not. But Austria surprised me. Austria were good. I like
Yeah.
Austria. I mean, I think we're going to come on to dark horses next, and they may now be my dark horse because Austria really impressed me. But having said that, I liked the look of Spain, actually. I liked the look of
Mm,
Spain just because it wasn't like the Germany game, obviously. Germany destroyed Scotland, but it's so hard to judge that because Scotland were like a pub team, quite
awful.
frankly. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely dreadful. Spain just look. We're so used to Spain passing for no reason and being a little bit boring, pass. But all of a sudden they've got their technique, but they've also got directness to them too. And I liked that dynamic with Spain the other night. And Morata's a weird striker, Morata is an international tournament striker. He's not a domestic league striker, particularly in terms of doing really well, but he's a striker you can always see doing well in an international tournament, and I can see that potentially happening again. So, yeah, Spain are the ones who caught my eye, but Austria last night really did. Although I was drinking quite a lot of Guinness last night, and I am quite hungover, so maybe the Guinness made Austria look even better.
Okay. What about the worst performance so far? Scotland, obviously, up
Yes.
there. I would throw Croatia up there. I thought Croatia were terrible.
Yeah, I didn't actually see the Croatia match that well.
They were played through like a sieve. It
Yeah,
was it was crazy.
yeah, that was a travelling day for me, and so I caught a bit of it, but not a lot of it. I mean, Scotland did play like a pub team. They played like they'd been in the pub, quite frankly. They played like they'd been having Guinness with me and Molly Malone's in Earthfurt. Do you know what I mean? So they were just horrible to watch. Belgium, I was very disappointed in.
Oh man,
Yeah,
what a
yeah,
weird performance too.
yeah,
Obviously, I think they're a little hard done by on the handball call. To
yeah.
be to be quite
I've
frank,
never.
but
Have we seen that before? Have we seen the Snicker handball before? Have I
I don't
missed
know.
this? It's my first ever taking notice of that. But yeah, they looked a bit stodgy and a bit unhappy, and I didn't like their performance. So yeah, those two are the ones that caught my eyes. Bad performances. I didn't like I said. I only dipped in a little bit of Croatia, so I'll take your word on that one.
Yeah, what you
Ukraine
talked about?
surprised me. Ukraine surprised me.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
they laid an egg yesterday, huh?
yeah. Ukraine surprised me. I thought Ukraine might actually be not a dark horse, but just do quite well. And maybe they
Challenge.
still, yeah, maybe they still will. But that surprised me. That was poor yesterday.
Yeah, they were not very good. Which team is your dark horse? You have plenty of good options in here. Which team is your dark horse?
I am going to go Austria. I am going to go
Okay.
Austria. Yeah, I've got a friend who's Austrian who was telling me before the tournament that Austria, they think they're going to do well. Um, Obviously, being in France's group makes it more difficult, but they impressed me last night with my Guinness goggles on. So I'm going to
You
stick
see them
with
them
Austria.
coming out as like the third seed and then potentially going on a little
Yeah,
bit of
maybe,
a
maybe they
run?
can get through that group in second. Who knows? I mean,
Mm.
they're in with Poland, right? Poland are a good team as well, and
France, Poland, Netherlands.
I
Yeah.
didn't. I wasn't that. I know the Netherlands beat Poland. I wasn't that impressed with Holland. I think if Cody
Poland
get
looked better without Lewandowski. Like they
yes,
looked pretty
yeah,
decent.
yeah, they're not bad, and I wasn't very impressed with Holland. And I've got to say, my view with Holland has always been Cody Gakpo's a good player, but if he's your kind of go-to player, I'm not sure you're going to win a tournament with Cody Gakpo as your go-to player. I don't know. Austria, I think Austria I'm going to lay it out here. I think Austria are going to win their next two games and go through as second place.
Okay. Well, we will be back next week on that one.
I'll have
Which
an egg on my face.
which team will actually win the tournament, Matt? So you've seen most of the matches so far. Which team is going to win it?
Oh, I mean, it's really boring. My pre-tournament prediction was that England will lose in the semi-finals to France, and France will win the tournament. Um, I'd like to see
Plausible.
I'd like to see Germany again, but I always think a host nation with a momentum behind them. They're on that side. They're on the different side of the draw to France. So my win is coming from Germany or France, and I'm going to go France. You?
Yeah.
Who have you got?
I think Italy are a weird team to
Oh,
look at in this
nice.
tournament. I don't know why. I just when obviously they didn't have like the most convincing performance,
Yeah,
but I think Chiesa could potentially be the
Chiesa.
player of
Yeah,
the
I
tournament.
really like Chiesa. He's a great player, but I
He's
like that. That's something different. Mine was really boring. So yeah.
Yeah. All right, a couple rapid fires to leave us because I know you got to get to your actual job. Uh, you've been in Germany for what, a couple weeks, week and a half, something like
Yeah,
that,
yeah.
right?
Week and a half.
What's the best beer you've had so far?
Well, like I say, last night I was on the Guinness, which isn't obviously much of a traditional beer. So I do like that. I mean, I like the Hells. I do like the Hells. They do a lot more sort of, as you probably know, it's a lot more of a kind of Pilsner lager state over here.
Hmm.
So it's quite fizzy. It's not what I'd normally drink at home, to be quite honest with you. But when you're in Germany, it seems fine. So the Hells is good. I've actually found as well the place I'm staying. I found a very little craft ale place which he
Ah,
brews his own hells, but also has all the craft beers you can think of on the shelves. So, but not necessarily German ones. So I can drink kind of beer from back home, as it were. There, but yeah, probably the hells. Been drinking a lot of pilsner. It's funny. You just come out here and you say, "I'll have a big beer." Basically,
yeah.
most places you go to, you're not really making much of a choice. You're just saying to the waiter, "A big beer."
In general, this is from Colby in our Discord. What is your favorite summer beer? Something lighter?
Yeah, I quite like a citrusy IPA in the summer. So
Oh,
if I'm having a barbecue, a citrusy IPA, but if the family are around and stuff like that, that's a nice one in the summer.
any particular brewer that you'd like to shout?
Uh, I'm not going to give them the advertising space. No, just
There you go.
any
Fair enough.
citrusy IPA.
All right, so take that for what it is, Colby. From T. Clot here, what are your thoughts on Douglas Louise in Juve colors? Getting a little ribbing
Yeah,
from Discord
exactly.
here.
Yeah, that feels like a little punch on the chin. That one. It looks like it's going to be the first couples transfer. Have you seen this? So his girlfriend at Villa is Alicia Lehman, the
Oh
WSL
yeah.
player, and it looks like Juventus are buying both of them. So it's the
Oh
first.
wow.
It's going to be the first couples transfer. They are a brand in themselves. I mean, she is a brand in herself, and they as a couple are a brand in themselves. And it looks like they're going to go together. So that's interesting. I do think out of Villa's what you would call big players, he is the most replaceable. He was suspended when Villa beat Arsenal away at the Emirates last season, and Tielemans took his place. I do think he's replaceable. It feels like they do have to bring in a big wad of cash by June the 30th to not break PSR rules. So I kind of expected it, and I would much rather it was him than Emmy or Ollie Watkins or Jacob Ramsey, quite frankly.
Yeah. All right, last one from Alex in Houston. So you should know the drill because he always has an interesting question for you. Would you rather have a permanent unibrow or no eyebrows at all?
I mean, I've got quite bushy eyebrows. I'm going to come back with a question, and you're going to have to referee this.
Sure.
If I go for no eyebrows at all, am I allowed to draw eyebrows on?
Yeah, but they have to look terrible. They can't be like an artist can't draw them on
I'd
for
have to do
you,
it
sort of
myself
a.
with like a
You'd have to
marker
do it
pen.
yourself. Yeah,
I'm going to take that. I'm going to go no
yeah.
eyebrows.
Oh, what a call! Are you serious?
Yeah,
You're
and
gonna draw the eyebrows on every day?
look. I'm a 45-year-old guy. My best looking days are probably behind me. Let's face it. I'm married. I've got kids. Let's just have some fun. I can draw on a different expression every single day. I can go angry eyes if I want to go angry eyes. I don't care what I look like these days. Let's do that.
Is what? Okay, here's the better question. What would your wife prefer?
different husband.
Fair enough. Well, I mean, she's getting a nice break while you're in Germany. How about that? Look, Matt, know you're very busy. Appreciate you taking the time this morning to talk all things Euros, Chelsea transfers, all this sort of stuff. We will, of course, be back with you periodically to talk all this stuff moving forward.
Cheers, Nick. Good to see you. See you soon.
All right. See ya. And Chelsea fans, you know what to do. Keep the blue flag flying high.